So I'm going to, first of all, give a really quick introduction about Cardiff University. That will last just 5 to 10 minutes. Then I'm going to hand over to Hugh, who's going to talk to you about the undergraduate programmes that are available in the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences. And then after that, we're going to open up the Q&A in the chat. So you can ask us any questions that you would like. So I'm just going to do a little screen share and start on my very quick presentation about Cardiff University. I'm Anne-Marie Ramsay, I'm Student Recruitment Manager here at Cardiff University, and I'm just going to give a very brief introduction to Cardiff University. So Cardiff Uni was established in 1883, so we're just over 140 years old. We are the top ranked university in Wales and in the top 25 overall in the UK. The university is divided into 24 academic schools, and the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences is one of those schools. The schools are split across 2 campuses. So our main campus is the Cathays Park campus, and the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences is part of that. And then we also have something called the Heath Park campus, which is based up at the Heath Hospital. And that's where our schools of medicine, dentistry and healthcare sciences are based. But Earth and Environmental Sciences is based in Cathays Park, which is our main campus. The university is currently ranked 11th in the UK for the impact of our research, and 90% of our research is classed as world-leading or internationally excellent. You might have heard of Cardiff University Students' Union before. It's actually the top 2 in the UK. It always comes in the top 2. It has done for years and years. It's really, really highly ranked. With lots and lots going on there. And Cardiff Uni is also ranked 6th for student life in the 2024 What Unique Student Choice Awards. We're also one of the largest universities in the UK, so we've got 33,000 students from over 130 countries. And just a few more little bits about Cardiff Uni. So we are a member of the elite Russell Group. So the Russell Group is made up of the 24 top research-led universities in the UK. So what that means for you is that you benefit from being taught by people who are kind of at the forefront of academic research. We have 10 libraries across the campus, with 2,500 study spaces and also a large range of IT suites. Some of them are open 24/7. So if you feel the urge to be studying at midnight, you will be able to find a library who will let you in. I've got another slide about our facilities, but we're currently investing £600 million in an upgrade to our campus, including a brand new Centre for Student Life, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. We have, as I said, we are a really large university. We have more than 350 undergraduate degree programmes which students can study. And we're also 16th largest university in the UK in terms of student numbers, and the very largest one in Wales. Accommodation at Cardiff University residences is guaranteed for all first-year undergraduate students. So if you are looking at different universities, make sure that's one thing I really recommend that you look at, because accommodation is not guaranteed at all universities, but it is at Cardiff. Our students have a choice of joining more than 200 different societies and over 60 sports clubs. A lot of those are run by the Students' Union. We're a World Top 200 university in the latest QS World Rankings. I think I mentioned before, our Students' Union is currently voted 2nd in the UK, and our graduates are very highly sought after by employees. So we're currently ranked 12th in the UK for employability. Okay, so in terms of facilities, so the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences is based in the university's main building at the very heart of our Cathays campus. So it really is kind of at the very forefront of the university. In the main building, you'll find 2 of our academic schools. So the School of Chemistry also shares the building with the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences. As part of the campus upgrade that we've recently undertaken, we have invested £50 million in the Centre for Student Life. So that's the home of all of our student support services, which I will talk to you about on the next slide. And as mentioned before, we've got 10 libraries with access to over 1.2 million books and digital resources. So you can see on my screen, that building there is opposite the main building. So the one with all the columns, that's the Centre for Student Life. So it's right across the road from you in the main building. So this Centre for Student Life was opened back in October 2021, and it is the home of all of our student support services. So prior to 2021, we did have all of these services available at the university, but they were kind of scattered around in different buildings across campus. But now they're all together in one building, and this is where you would go if you need any support while you study at Cardiff University. So the building is home to our visa support team. So if you're an international student, that's who you might need to get in touch with. But there's also health and wellbeing teams based in the building with counselling services. There's student mentors available. They will kind of put you in touch with one. There's something called the Study Skills Centre. So we recognise obviously that the step up from studying for your A-levels is quite a jump then to get to university level, so that they have study skills sessions going on in the building, which will help kind of be focused on different things such as how to write an essay, how to do referencing, all those kind of things, how to kind of manage your time. There's lots of study skills sessions and workshops going on in the Centre for Student Life. It's also the home of our Student Futures services. So Student Futures will work with you whilst you're a student, and also for up to 3 years after you graduate, and they'll help you kind of develop your CV and your LinkedIn profile. They hold lots of employer careers fairs on campus. And they basically want to make sure you're in the best shape that you can as you go and hit the job market. And the CSL, the Centre for Student Life, it's also home to 2 further teams. So there's disability and dyslexia. So if you have any additional needs while you're at university, such as dyslexia or any kind of disability, they'll get in touch with all the people that that you would need to talk to make sure, for example, that you were able to have extra time in your exams, or that your accommodation was adapted for your needs, all of that kind of thing. And then finally, we have a managing your money team. So they are there to help you budget, because we recognise that going to university can often be the first time that you would need to have figured out how to best budget your money. So that's all based in the building, and it's right across the road, as I said, from the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences in the main building. And then moving on to accommodation. So as I said, Cardiff does guarantee accommodation for all first year students. So that's for both firm and insurance offer holders, provided that you meet the relevant application deadline. So you can find those on our website as to when you would need to apply by. We've got 5,500 student rooms spread across 16 different sites, the biggest of which is Talabont. It's about a 20-minute walk, I'd say, from School of Earth and Environmental Sciences. The majority of our accommodation is en suite, so I think it's around 70 to 80% of our residences are en suite, and some are park catered. So park catered accommodation costs between £148 and £169 per week. That's the current prices, and a place in self-catered accommodation costs from £130 per week. And all of our residences are in walking distance of both the campuses and the city centre too. And then finally, a very, very little bit about Cardiff. Some of you might know Cardiff. You might have even had a chance to visit us on an open day. If you haven't, Cardiff is obviously the capital city of Wales. Wales is home to the most castles in the whole of Europe. Apparently there's over 600 in the whole country. Cardiff is very much known as being an affordable city for students. So even though it is a capital city, I don't think that's necessarily reflected in the prices. It tends to be a lot cheaper than some of the other cities in the UK. I think one big benefit of Cardiff is it has everything that you would expect of a capital city, but it's also close to the beach and the countryside, so you can kind of get to, get out in the fresh air and about in not very much time at all. But also in the city, there's more green space per person than any other UK city, and it's really easy to get around. There's very good transport links to the rest of the UK. It's about 2 hours from London, less than an hour from Bristol, and again about 2 hours from Birmingham. So it's really easy to get around the city, and you wouldn't need a car while you're here. So that is the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions on that in the Q&A. If you have any, please feel free. But I'm going to move on to Hugh now, who's going to talk to you about the programmes that are available in this School of Earth and Environmental Sciences.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. So can we see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thanks, Hugh.
Okay, excellent. So I'm Hugh Davies, and I'm the Director of Admissions in the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences. So in this short presentation, I'm going to give you a bit of background about the degrees that we offer in the school and the subjects, etc. So the school welcomes everyone, so we aim to be fully inclusive and try and have a representative diversity. Across the school student population, there's roughly a gender balance, so about 50% males, 50% females, and we're continually working to improve inclusivity. There's also an opportunity for students to contribute to that by joining the Equality, Diversity and Inclusivity Committee and becoming student voice representatives. Okay, so I'm going to start with the introduction to our subjects, and they come in 3 families. So there's a geoscience family of 3 degrees, a geography family of 3 degrees, and then a final family of a sustainability science degree. So starting with the geoscience, and here's the geology degree. So this will include topics like volcanoes and earthquakes, the dynamic earth and plate tectonics, also how rocks and minerals are formed, fossils and what we can learn about past environments from them, and also how geology impacts on our lives today. Then exploration geology is the second subject on which we have a degree scheme. So this builds on a lot of the content, clearly shares a lot of content with the geology degree. And here the focus is in exploration for things like minerals and water and critical metals. So critical metals are the sorts of metals that we're going to need for the net zero transition. So metals like copper for all the electricity type issues, the metals that we'll need for our batteries, the metals that we need, neodymium, for example, that we need for that high intensity magnets that allow wind farms to be so efficient, minerals for photovoltaics, etc. So there's not enough in the world just from recycling. We will have to explore, and we'll have to do that sustainably. And that's a big aspect of this degree. We also touch upon geophysics, and that's linked to a wide range of problems, including carbon capture, utilization and storage. The third geoscience degree is environmental geoscience. So again, we'll be closely related to geology. Here there's an emphasis on assessing hazards, so floods in addition to earthquakes and volcanoes. Also an aspect on thinking about cleaning up dangerous waste. So a big aspect here is brownfield sites and how we can make those available for building today. Clearly, we need to build a lot more houses in the UK, and part of that issue is getting appropriate land, and environmental geoscientists are playing a big role there. And also they can help engineers, and so they can be engineering geologists and wondering about the ground beneath large structures, so be they roads, tunnels, or large buildings, etc. Now moving on to the geography degrees group. So the first one is physical geography, and this is very much about how the earth works, so glaciers, rivers, landslides, coastal processes, etc., and how these then evolve our landscapes over time. And there clearly we will also be touching upon global hazards in this degree. Environmental geography related closely to physical geography. Here the emphasis changes a little bit, and not only are we interested in the earth function, but also the science behind human impact on the planet over time. So through these degrees, you're going to have the skills to solve a range of complex environmental problems, and in locations from the extreme poles to tropical coral reefs. Those are 2 examples where we have expertise in the school, but we also have expertise throughout all the aspects of the earth. The third geography degree is marine geography. The ocean is the last major frontier on Earth for exploration and discovery. We know the surface of Venus which we can't see in light, but we can see through radar, better than we understand the floor of the deep ocean. But this is not an oceanography degree. It's more than that. We try and explain how we solve physical, hydrographical and managerial issues relating to the ocean, but also to the marine coastlines. So this is a pretty unique degree. Again, similar to exploration geology, marine geography here, these might be the only examples with that title here in the UK. And then we come to the final third group, we have the single degree of environmental sustainability science. So this is unique in two respects. One is in terms of the content. The content is focused around the 2030 UN United Nations Agenda for Sustainable Development. And as part of that, you will explore 3 grand challenges. In year 1, clean water, in year 2, land degradation, and in year 3, climate action. The other thing that's unique about this degree is not just the content, but also the style of teaching. And half the content of this degree is uses what we call problem-based learning. So this is a form of teaching that was pioneered in medical schools in the UK, and we're adapting that for this degree. This degree has now graduated its first cohort of students, and they did exceptionally well in their degrees. A quick slide here of year 3. I don't necessarily expect you to be able to see everything that's on this degree. At the top, we've got the degrees here, the 7 degree subjects, and down the side, on the left-hand side, we've got the modules. If they're hashed, they're optional modules, and if they're solid, they're core. So I'm showing this aid to give you a sense of the wide range of modules that are available and the degree of optionality that's available in the 3rd year. So topics like global climate change, marine environmental systems, extreme environments, geomorphology, past climates, hazards and risk, marine geomatics, fieldwork and your dissertations on the geoscience side, petrology, geodynamics, geoenergy and basin analysis, mineral exploration, advanced environmental geology, fieldwork, and then again the dissertations. So another aspect of teaching that I'll mention is fieldwork. So first thing I'll say is that we have our own boat for teaching the marine geographers, and here it is in Cardiff Bay, and students on the boat here. And on the right-hand side, I've got a figure sort of showing currently our anticipated residential trips. These things can change in detail, but this gives a broad sweep of roughly what we would try and deliver. So you can see a broad range of locations here, and travel and accommodation costs of these field trips are covered by fees. There's a minimum of 1 overseas trip and 1 UK residential trip, no matter which degree scheme you're on, and some degree schemes will have more than that. We also run a lot of local field trips from Cardiff because we're close to the coast and also to the hills and mountains behind us. So that's very useful for us. We also have made provision for wheelchair students to access all our fieldwork. Also, other need-dependent alternatives are available. And if students can't provide their own waterproofs, we have a field kit library where we can loan students waterproofs. Okay, so some things to consider. Our first semester is common to all our 6 core programs. So all the geoscience and all the geography ones. So this is not the case for environmental sustainability science. For that degree, you have to have signed up for it at the start, and you can't swap off it or swap onto it. That's because of that unique teaching style and the unique content that's in it. But for the others, they share that first semester, first half of the year, which means that we can allow you to swap between any one of those 6 up until January of your first year. So effectively applying for one of those degrees is like applying for all 6. And within the geoscience or the geography half of the school, you can change degree program until the end of the first year. Oh, so as an example, at the end in January of your first year, you could change from, let's say, marine geography to geology. And that example is maybe quite interesting because lots of students nowadays do not get much of an introduction at school to geology because it's not taught to A level in very many schools. So we do not assume that students have any background in geology for doing our geoscience degrees. But this way you can get a flavour of the geoscience and maybe you'll decide, actually, maybe that's more suitable. Vice versa, equally, you might be thinking, well, actually, maybe the physical geography or something is more interesting. And in the second semester, you might be doing physical geography, but you might decide, actually, maybe marine geography is the same. And that can be a decision left to the end of your first year. So we think that's a very useful flexibility for yourselves to have. So you don't have to make those sorts of decisions now. You can leave them once you're here and you've had a chance to sample things and talk a lot more to the various members of staff and students, etc. Types of degrees. We clearly offer a BSc in all our degrees, so those are 3-year degrees. We also offer, so the next 2 offerings are not available in environmental sustainability science at the moment, though they probably will become, but they're not available at the moment. But for the other 6, for the 3 geoscience and the 3 geography degrees, we also offer a BSc with a year abroad or a placement, and I'll talk about those options a little bit more in a second. And there's also the option of doing an MSci degree. This is a 4-year integrated master's degree, and there's a threshold of 60% in year 3 to progress onto that 4th year. And the 4th year, so the first 3 years will be identical to one of our BScs. The 4th year then will be, half of it will be a dedicated research project, potentially using, well, supervised by one of our academic staff or researchers, and potentially using our research equipment and definitely our research data. Then there'll be a fieldwork module. There's then 2, well, you'll have 3 optional modules of which you take 2. One is involved with numerical modeling and programming. Second one involves the environment and business, and the third involves scanning the research horizon. So the BSc degree with a year abroad. So your first 2 years would be in Cardiff, and then your 3rd year would be the year abroad, and then you'd come back to do what would have been your final year effectively in your 4th year. There's a threshold of 60% average mark in year 1 to be allowed to go onto the year of study abroad. The number of openings at all locations are limited and therefore are competitive. Our current, and I must emphasize current because these do change, partner universities include the following. So Simon Fraser University, for example, in Vancouver, and there's a further 4 universities in Canada, University of Technology in Sydney, and there's a further 2 universities in Australia, a wide range of universities in America, University of Wyoming, that's the state where Yellowstone National Park is. I set up that exchange right at the start of this year of abroad. So that's an example of a university that's been a partner for over 20 years with us. And also there's universities in New York State, New Hampshire, University of Florida, etc. Universities in New Zealand, in Sweden, Singapore, Germany, and Hong Kong. Here are some students on those year abroad. So here in the west of the US, with the Cascade volcanoes, here on an ocean-going vessel off Florida, the geysers, and the canyons of the west of the US. And here's 2 students who spent a year abroad recently in Stockholm. So they drilled offshore using their ocean-going vessel in the Baltic Sea, and then also on land, as we see on the left there. And then from the cores, they would interpret the environmental change. We also offer a professional placement with a company or an organization. You won't find these on UCAS. We elect you to transfer onto these once you're here if you can successfully, together with ourselves, successfully arrange one. So we will have certain ones available, but they're again competitive, and clearly the company has to accept you as a placement student. So the school has a dedicated placements officer, and what Marie is dedicated on is helping all the placements, helping to find them, and helping then to organise those placements. So I've got a short little video, just about a minute, and it says a little bit about the benefits of potentially doing a placement. The sound is not important, so I might turn that down. So that's the placements year. So some students go on to further study, and this school offers MScs, vocational MScs. Some might go to do a one-year PGCE if they want to pursue a teaching career, and some maybe go on to research and PhDs. So the 2025 entry requirements for our degrees are listed here. So it's ABB if you have one science at A level, and the sciences are listed here: chemistry, maths, physics, geology, geography, biology, computer science, ICT, and environmental science. We will also look at statistics as an additional one as well. And then BBB if you can offer two of those sciences. There's also requirements at GCSE maths and English. This year, the school is in the University Offer Guarantee Scheme, and what that means is that we will soften by 1 grade if you accept our offer as your first choice by the early summer UCAS deadline. So that's the deadline by which you'd be expected to be making that choice. So, for example, instead of 3 Bs, the offer would then become 2 Bs and a C. Careers and employment. So these statistics are taken from the government website following surveys of our students. So there's 10% or less of our graduates unemployed 15 months after graduating. And it's a very wide range of careers that they go into. So some of the titles are here: environmental consultants, hydrogeologists, conservation managers, sustainability scientists, marine surveyors, engineering geologists, exploration geologists, etc. There's a lot more information about everything on the university website: videos of the school, tours of campus, accommodation, etc. Further information about student support, finance, career pathways and past student profiles. And there's detailed information on each of our degrees available at this site. Maybe the best way to get to it is just to say Cardiff University and one of our degree titles, and probably one of the hits will be that location. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. So I'll stop sharing there and hand back to Anne-Marie.
Thanks, Hugh. That was really interesting. We have our Q&A bit open at the bottom. If you would like to ask us any questions, now is your chance. Please don't be shy. We've already had one question answered already, which was about accommodation and whether you need to pay for the weeks when you're not there. No, you don't is the answer to that. I did write the answer in the chat, but just to clarify, the weekly cost of our accommodation are based on a 39-week contract, which runs from around, I'd say around the 20th of September to about around the 20th of June. So you don't need to pay while you're not there in the summer. There's just one more question that's just come in, and then something in the chat to you. So I'm just going to read that out to you, Hugh. A question from Louisa, which was: there is no mention on human geography. Is this therefore not a degree?
It is a degree at Cardiff University, but it's not a degree at our school.
Yeah.
So there's another School of Geography and Planning, and they offer a human geography degree. But our school, we are physical geography. In terms of the geography side, that's what we offer and the emphasis. I noticed there's a question that's also come through chat.
Okay.
And I'll read it out for you. It might be more for you, Anne-Marie, than myself.
Okay.
Maybe it's something that we might have to come back to. So,
yeah.
Hello, I'm an international student from the US. What are the entry requirements for US students?
Okay, Delphine. I'm afraid I don't know those off the top of my head. If you want to, I'll put my email in the chat. And then if you want to send me an email separately, I'll be able to get back to you with what the entry requirements are for that. There we go. So that was my email address. While I'm here, I'm also going to pop in the email address for the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences, the undergraduate studies email address, just in case you have any additional questions. But feel free, email either one of us with those kind of questions. And I'll get back to you, Delphine, if that's okay. Next question, this one's for you, Hugh, from Lucy. So what are Cardiff looking out for from prospective students in terms of skill sets? So what would you look for in the school?
So because of the nature of our degrees, we're clearly, and it's also seen in the nature of our entry requirements, we're looking, in terms of technical skills, we're looking for a scientific background. So because our degrees are scientific. And then in terms of the sort of more human aspects, it's curiosity and motivation and resilience. Those would be characteristics. And probably it helps, I think, to have, though it's not required, this skill, but our students tend to be students who like the outdoors, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. Just to follow up from Louisa, just before we go back to the other question. So Louisa said, just based on your answer about the human geography being based in the School of Geography and Planning, does this mean you can't swap between human and physical degrees because this is an option at other universities? I think it does mean that, doesn't it?
Yes, that's correct. So at Cardiff, you can't swap between those two. That's correct.
Okay, thanks, Hugh.
Yeah.
Do we accept an AS level provided other subjects have high grades? I think that would depend on, so you would still need 3 A levels. You couldn't have 2 A levels and an AS. That's correct, isn't it?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, effectively we don't accept AS levels. We're really accepting the A levels. Or if you're doing a different qualification, you know,
Yeah.
we also accept other qualifications, but we would potentially, you know, be aware of an AS level, and if things were, if we had to choose between candidates, then clearly they might enter into that consideration.
Yeah, thanks, Hugh. A question that's definitely for you. So this one is, what is the difference between geology and exploration geology?
So there's a lot of overlap between these two degrees. So there'll be slight differences. Well, one difference in year 2, depending upon the geologists, will have an optional module, and the exploration geologists will have a core offering, of which the geologists can look identical if they take a certain option, or it can be a little bit different. And then in year 3, there is an exploration module which is only available for exploration geology. So that's a very obvious difference. And there's a difference in terms of what is core and again, what is optional. So the differences are slight, but they're definitely there. So there's a bit more of an emphasis on, especially the mineral exploration, on the exploration geology route. There's also the possibility with the exploration geology route of a placement in the summer of the 2nd year, and that can then end up being a part of the dissertation. The geologists don't have that option, and they will be doing a mapping project. The exploration geologists, if they don't go on such a placement, will also be doing a mapping project. So I think those are pretty much all the differences between them. So a lot of similarity.
Thanks, Hugh. We've got one more question which says, can you still do a physical geography degree if you haven't done geography at A level, but you do biology? I think the answer is yes to that.
That's correct. Yeah. Yes. Provided you, so again, in the same way as we don't expect geology, A-level geology to do geology, we don't expect A-level geography to do geography. But you will need at least one of those sciences. So I noticed you mentioned biology, and that would be classed as a science, so that would be fine for entry to our degrees.
Thanks, Hugh. That's really helpful. Is there anything? Oh, we've got another one just coming. So what differs marine geography from physical geography besides the focus on our oceans?
Well, there's quite a bit of difference in terms of the modules. There'll be a difference in year 2 modules. There's a difference in fieldwork immediately because you will do some of that fieldwork on the boat. That's not the case with physical geography. You will be doing things like marine geomatics, which you wouldn't be doing in physical geography. That's kind of, mapping the subsurface beneath a boat. You'll be doing marine environmental aspects, etc. So, and then the dissertation will clearly have quite a different emphasis being on the ocean as well.
Thanks, Hugh. There's a question that I think I should be able to answer here, which is that what are the standards of sports at Cardiff? So we have 60 different sports clubs. We compete in something called the Bucks, which I think stands for the British Universities. Well, I don't know the rest of it actually, but I'm going to pop a link in the chat so you can find out more about the different sports that are on offer. But yes, 60 different kinds. There are 2 main sports centres. One is based about 5-minute walk from the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences on somewhere called Cynllun Road, which is a fitness and conditioning centre. And we've also got lots of sports facilities up at Talabont, which is our largest accommodation site. And we have also lots and lots of 3G and 4G pitches up at a site in Llanrumney as well. So if you have a look in the chat, I'm just going to pop a link in there to the sport bit from the website, so you can have a look at that. And then I'm just going to ask you a question that's just come in, Hugh. How much of the environmental geography includes sustainability topics?
Okay, actually, maybe I'll make a few more comments about sport just before I get on.
Okay, sure.
So there's also an elite sports program at Cardiff. So if you're at that sort of level, Cardiff supports that, and the school does its best to help students who are in that position. And then also at the other end of the spectrum, there are intramural leagues, etc. And there are teams based out of the school that compete in netball and rugby and etc. as well. So sports at all sorts of levels here in Cardiff. The environmental geography degree will indirectly touch upon sustainability. But in terms of if that's the core of what you would want your degree to be on, then I would recommend that you look closely at our environmental sustainability science degree, because that's pretty much the focus of the whole of that degree. But there will be some modules which clearly will touch upon sustainability and also the underlying science that is needed for sustainability. But it's nowhere the same level as in the ESS degree.
Thanks, Hugh. I think that's it for the questions. I'm just going to have a quick look to make sure that we've answered all of them. I think we have. If anybody has any more, please feel free in the next minute or so to pop them in the chat or the Q&A, whichever one you prefer.
Yeah. The only other thing I was going to add was I'm also happy to take any further questions or queries by email as well. So
okay, I'm going to pop your email address in the
yeah. It's
chat.
also it's also available on the university website. But here it is.
Thanks, Hugh. Excellent. Oh, we've just had one more question from Louisa. How far is the human building to the physical building? So really close. So physical geography is based, as I said, in the main building. There's kind of a road and a really tiny little kind of very small park called Alexandra Gardens between the main building and the Glamorgan building, which is where human geography is based. So in terms of walking between the two, you're probably looking at about a 3-minute walk through a very lovely park. No more than that. I think another question's just come in. Oh, that's okay. Thanks, Louisa. No worries at all.
Yeah.
Unless anybody has any more questions, I think we'll close the Q&A and call an end to the webinar. But we will, as I mentioned, we have recorded this, so we're going to send it out to you. So if you wanted to have another watch of it, please feel free in your own time. And if you do have any questions for me or for Hugh, you'll see our email addresses in the chat. So please feel free to get in touch. And thank you for coming.